My name's David Gibson. I was born in the early 60s to a Scottish father and an English mother, both of which had chosen to follow various philosophies and be part of the hippie era. For them, there was a question mark as to the practice of worship between them and God. They deeply questioned their parents' way and also the society's way of worshipping the creator and center of the universe. I believe that they both always had the basis of Christianity as their base belief. I think they were willing to look at the concepts of Eastern philosophy. Within that context, I was baptized a Protestant Church of England. I was greatly influenced by the whole environment. They followed a philosopher called J.G. Bennett, who had his own quest of questioning the true spirituality of mankind as it was in the 50s and 60s. As a consequence, when he set up a college, I think it was called the College of Continuous Education and Comparative Studies in Sherborne, Gloucestershire in the early 70s, we had a lot of people come to visit us from the Red Indians, the Buddhists, both the Mahayana, the Hinayana and Vajrayana traditions, as well as Hindus, mystics, yogis. We had people from the church. We had the Egyptian Gnostic church representatives come to see us, also come to take part in the courses. So all of this influence led me to question, where is my stance, where is my journey in relationship to God Almighty or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then when the college was dissolved, we then went to live in Scotland, and I was really confronted with it. I was then in my very early teens, and I was reading a lot of the Sufi traditions, a lot of the Christian and Judaic traditions. And my relatives were very kind in giving their particular Bible, their particular version. Thankfully, I also had a St. James's version, and I read very avidly. I was a very avid reader of the Bible, both of the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it really came to me that when I saw how the authorities of the particular other versions of the Bible saw fit to retract verses completely or reinterpret the verses to older Bibles, it became apparent to me that and with all the history of the Crusades and all the history of the power of the churches throughout in the UK and in Europe, that Christianity really had been spent revelation used and abused for people's own ends. So in that particular, I said, okay, I called it a day. I said, I'm not a Christian anymore. That's it. I'm calling it. I stopped so I didn't go to the church anymore. I then went on a journey for the next 16 years, 17 years, looking and practicing other disciplines, other religions, seeing where it tied within myself. I always believe that the body is honest, and almost all religions will confirm this unless it's trained to be deceptive. So I always reflected, and at the end of each phase, there was Islam. Allah showed me Islam from different cultures, different reverts, from people of African, Asian. So, and the practicing brothers were always very calm, very polite, very well versed in their scriptures. And the influence of Islam was in the family since I can remember, really, because we had sheikhs come and visit the college, visit our home. From 1997, I was heavily involved in adult education, and that was, and I was exposed to the Muslim community in the East London area, and involved in a lot of their issues. And I would volunteer, being an educational mentor, either taking them through the process of application for refugee or social work or schools, any kind of issues really that they had. I would just help them out on a voluntary basis. And that was my first exposure to the Somali community. I then got involved with a few of them on a more personal basis while I was here, and consequently I went out to Somalia as a request. So it was Christmas 1989. Went actually, I think it was actually the 5th of January or something, just after New Year, so just the very early of 1990, and was out there when the South African leader Nelson Mandela, he was released, and that was quite amazing to be in Africa at that time. And they were just so honest within themselves, so honest to their nature. The generosity of heart and how they were so caring to each other. That's what really, and so sincere in their belief. It was just, there was no doubt. It wasn't academic, it wasn't intellectual, it was in every sinews of their being, the belief of God and how He would help and how He tests people. That was my first real exposure to an Islamic nation. Of course, that was completely new to me at the time, but it really affected the next 2 years of my life, in that I couldn't keep being on the edge. I couldn't just keep being the nice guy, wanting to be a decent human being, not hurt anybody, not wanting to be hurt. It doesn't work. You have to take the leap and be and make your commitment. It was just time to take the Shahada and inshallah get the blessings from Allah, inshallah. So, best move I ever made. So at the age of 29, I then decided to become a Muslim. There was no other choice, because I had decided that if I wanted to lead a spiritual life, then Islam was the way, and the only step to do was to actually take the step and move forward. So I contacted a brother that I'd known for a long time before taking the Shahada in Leytonstone. He asked a few questions and said, "Are you sure you're ready? And this is, you've really thought about it? As when you become Muslim, it's not looked upon in a good way by Allah if you decide not to, to leave Islam." So I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm ready." She said, "Okay, let's go down to the local mosque." We went to the local mosque, and then I took the Shahada there. Robert is my good friend of 16 years. We met in 1997. He was one of my first tenants in my flat, and it was a very urgent request for accommodation, and we basically it just happened from there. And we talked about anything and everything. He's a very worldly experience with many years in. But, well, I would beg to differ, but Robert is a very modest chap. He spent a lot of time in China and Hong Kong, and he speaks several languages. And we also had a passion for meeting up in different restaurants, didn't we?
That's true.
Just to catch up, because you decided to go to law and then be a barrister. When did you first learn that I was a Muslim? I can't remember now.
I think you told me pretty soon after I'd moved in. I think you explained that you weren't too keen on alcohol in the flat and pork being kept in the fridge. And of course I told you I was a vegetarian, so it didn't matter. What
was your perception of me at that time as I'd become a new revert?
I didn't have any particular perception. You know, I always take people as I find them, and because you are just a genuinely decent person, I didn't think that you being a Muslim either detracted or improved on that perception. It's just what you were or what you decided to be, and I respected you for it.
Thank you very much.
I suppose, insofar as anything positive, I had the assurance that you wouldn't, come home drunk in the early hours and behave in an obnoxious way. Which is one positive aspect of Muslims that people very rarely give credit for.
Right. Good.
Yes. David, he's been a friend of mine, more or less since I moved in to his flat, and David, being a friend, has made a big difference to my life. Whether him being a Muslim forms a component of that is something which I probably wouldn't be able to answer, but it's David the individual that I like, and David the individual that I respect, and he's the person that's had the impact on me.
So we're looking to meet up a week on Monday at the seminar, Temple Church, on Islam and the English law.
Yeah, that
sounds absolutely fun. And of course we're going to get some food after that.
Good idea.
Or before.
Very good idea, yes.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Good to see you again.
It's really good, and we better let you go and carry on with your deeds.
Yeah, certainly.
So thank you for making time.
Best of luck.
Good.
All right, take care. Thanks, bye.
Take care. I was always the peacemaker. Even between my friends, I was the peacemaker. With my mum, she always used to say, why do you always feel that you need to make peace between us? Because to them, argument and fighting was a part of family life, and that wasn't for me. It wasn't. I mean, people that chose to fight me, then I would defend myself. But I was always the one, let's have peace. There's no benefit in hurting each other. So the conversations you have with people, they don't see where you're coming from, they don't understand your position. The things you say, your viewpoints, you just don't fit in. I used to do dhikr by myself when I needed consoling. When I needed to just ground myself, and my way of being close to God. And when you're in Jahiliyyah, when you're in the realm of ignorance, when you don't fit into your family, you can feel very alone. This is my friend Mas Patel. I've known him from very early years of me becoming a Muslim. I met him first in '95, I think it was '95. And he showed me what, I have to say that Mas has been not only my friend, but my guide in many ways, to etiquette, to cultural manners, to Islamic manners. to just being there as a person to show what a friend is, because before that I'd never really had friends, and he's put up with a lot. He's put up with a lot, but he's been there. I have to say, he's been there for me through thick and thin, and we've had some mega arguments, but we've learned to, if it was to disagree, we agreed to disagree, and it's, I think it was the depth of honesty in that he when it came to a boundary, or if he felt that it would affect the friendship, he said, I'm not going to go down that. However good it is for you, I'm not going to go down that, because there's a potential it could harm the friendship. When my bad times were really bad, he was there, and that's what I value as a really good friend.
Knowing David as a revert, I think it's been an honour, in the sense that it's always good where you can help people. When I think growing up, it was always a fascination when you came across English people who had become Muslim, and I'd met a few whilst I was growing up. And the most fascinating thing is, why would they choose Islam when they've got Christianity or atheism or whatever else? So when I bumped into Dawood, by that time I'd known other reverts, and when I bumped into him at university, I didn't actually get to know him as a revert, to be honest with you. I just got to know him as a person, as David, another friend at university, and then to find that he's a revert who's practicing, which he does to this day, and probably more so than I have ever done, was also very educative. In fact, there's certain times when the dawah was the other way, as opposed to and there was no dawah that I did. I don't think I did. The only thing I've probably helped him is cultural, sort of getting to know the Indian subcontinent sort of way of life, and how that isn't Islamic, but it's an Islamic culture, so to speak.
Following my conversion of Islam, I had the task of learning all the requirements, which at that time seemed a little bit daunting. But it's like anything, the more you practice, the better you get, the shorter time it takes. Practicing the salat 5 times a day, because I took the shahada in the spring. It then meant that the prayer times got longer and longer, which was, or should we say, spread out through the day, which was, it was quite a challenge. And also at that time, the fasting was in April, so I must have been a Muslim about a month before Ramadan kicked in, which was very interesting. And I still remember the sheer thirst gripping my throat, and my stomach complaining bitterly with the requirement of saying it wanted food. My body wanted food, but it was also very interesting, and that in not giving in to those pangs of hunger or thirst, it actually helped you. It actually helped me develop a strength that showed that you don't need to fulfill, whenever you get hungry, you don't need to actually eat. So I actually learned to really quite enjoy it, because you really learn to look forward to the iftar, to the break. And in those early days, we celebrated with great gusto, and we had lots of different drinks and lots of bits and pieces to break fast with, and then we prayed, and then we had the main supper, and then we'd go to the mosque afterwards. And that was it's always the loveliest time of the year. You're always coming a month or 2 months towards it. You're really looking forward to it, and by the end of it, you're ready to get back into the daily swing of things. This is Omar. He's a very good friend of mine. We met each other about 3 years ago. He's my wife's cousin's husband. so he's an extended member of the family. We recently started a project called Salam Volunteers, because we noticed that there was all the major pure volunteer organisations had a different ethos, a different background, and didn't really cater for the Muslims as a whole. So to that extent, we set up the Islam Volunteers to facilitate that function, because there are loads of organisations that have needs, and there are loads of people that really want to help, but there's not that bridging facility. So we're here to bridge that gap and to facilitate helping the Ummah and helping organisations, helping humanity.
The Muslim community will become more cohesive, and they will be able to interact between them. They will be able to contribute to the wider society and to bring a positive contribution and positive view of the Muslim community. They will be able to share their skill, to give their time, which is much precious than money, than anything else, their time and their skills, to be able to alleviate poverty and exclusion in UK and abroad.
And the response was, phenomenal. It was, everybody was just saying, yes, we need to do it.
It shows us that there is a need. There is an aspiration of Muslims to take part in the improvement of the society, to volunteer and to give their time. But they don't find the environment they feel comfortable in to do it. And by proposing and by setting up Salam Volunteer, we try to address this need, and we think there is a potential for being for giving something.
One very obvious observation that's become very apparent is that I would say 80 to 85 of the volunteers are from our sisters in Islam, and the brothers are wantonly, shamefully absent. So, we're going to really endeavour to try and shame them into helping us, because we need them. We need the brothers. But then, it's the sisters that are ready to rock and roll, ready to get going and help us in a big way. So first thing we need you to go on to Salam Volunteers. It's salamvol.org. Register your interest. This will help us immensely in getting funding to help bridge the gap between those that need and those that want to help with the need. What Islam means to me is the relationship between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the community as a whole. First of all, it's the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and me, and then my responsibility is as a Muslim man to my family, to my neighbours and to my community as a whole. From the moment I took the Shahada, my life is unravelled. I say, because in a sense that the habits or the lifestyles that I had just melted away, and it's enabled me to have peace in my life, to have harmony in my mind, in my emotions, and in my spirit, in my life. And it's enabled me to communicate with everybody in a calm manner.